Hey there, good morning, friends. It is January 13th, 2018. My name is Jeff Fritz. Welcome back to the stream. I think we're going to confirm it. This is Fritz and Friends. We're going to be doing some live coding. We're going to be doing some work here. A little bit of .NET code for you, and I hope you learn something. I hope I learn a little bit from you, because I'm going to be keeping an eye on those chat rooms, whether it's Mixer or Twitch, and I hope to see you there, and we'll talk. We'll have a good time here. A lot of new followers. Not a lot, but a good number of new followers here over the past day or two since we last broadcast on Thursday, I think it was, right? So it's great to see the new followers. We're moving closer and closer to our goal of 500. Today's hat, the Eye of Agamotto, because as I pointed out on, I think it was the last stream, I do look a little bit like Doctor Strange. Just a bit. I'm missing a light here. There we go. Now I look a little bit better. I could use one more. I'm going to just fill in the screen over here. Let's see. Let's just see what I can do. There we go. A little bit of fill light there on the side. I look fantastic now. Don't tell the wife. Let's see. Get rid of that. Looks good. As always, music in the background. This is Music to Code By. Today we're listening to Red. This came off of the second album in 2015 from our good friend Carl Franklin. Thank you, Carl, for giving me permission to use the music in the background here. Is that music level okay for you today? Let me know in the chat room. I didn't tweak it at all, but I just want to make sure that it's decent level. Let's see. I want to spend today talking a little bit about unit tests. I had a question come up on Twitter. Hey, have you thought about adding any unit tests to that Stream Tools project? And I have been thinking about it, and it's one of those things where it's like I keep skipping over this, and I really want to get that into the mix. So while I'm going to be writing .NET code and specifically targeting an ASP.NET, a web project, the techniques that I show and that I practice here today, I think can be applicable to other frameworks and other languages. So we'll see how that goes. But I want to get some unit tests around some of the things that are hanging out there that we want to make sure are working properly. And then we'll see about adding some new features, maybe even getting a continuous build set up so that we actually deploy directly to our private container registry, the container image for the Stream Tools project. Good morning, friends in the chat room. Sinclairinator, Random Dude, Joe Bunn. It's great to see the three of you over there. Looks like we've got a bunch more folks hanging out. So I look forward to hearing from all of you at some point here this morning. I know on Saturday mornings, it's like the West Coast folks wake up about 11:30 my time here on the East Coast. So about 8:30, and they join in, and I really end up seeing a peak right about noon in viewership. Maybe I'll stick around for a little bit longer to encourage some of those folks to hang out. So I forgot to make my coffee. That's a terrible thing, and I had to go running off right as I was about to start the stream. All right, let's start taking a look at what's going on in GitHub. Take a look at what we want to start off with here. So let's jump right in. And I love making fun of Chroma Key, and yes, I'm right in the middle of GitHub. Hello, GitHub. Hopefully no pink unicorns today. I never do unit testing, so hopefully this inspires me to actually do some. Let me tell you something, Sinclairinator. When I first started writing code, I was so paranoid about does it work? And I was constantly F5, check and make sure it works. F5, check and make sure it works. And it felt bad, right? It felt like I was spinning my wheels all the time. So I wanted to pin down, I wanted to have confirmation that these things weren't changing. Oh my gosh, it's 4 p.m. in Denmark. Well, catching you right before dinner then, I guess, huh, Joe Bun? I actually, side note, I received a request to submit to present at NDC Oslo, the Norwegian Developer Conference in Oslo, and that's out in about June. So I'm trying to figure out, do I want to submit for that? Do I want to go to Oslo? I think it would be a fun experience. I've never been to Oslo. I was in Stockholm for the first time last year in September. But I'm thinking about heading over to Oslo for NDC Oslo. We'll see. And gosh, I would run my streams from Oslo that week. That'd be kind of cool. So, hey, good morning, Scary Robert. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. So I just want to take a quick tour here, see if there's anything new we need to check out. I don't think there's anything new in our Epic Build Music project. Yeah, still the same issues hanging out here that we need to follow up on at some point. Unicorn is here. Live Unicorn. Now, Live Unicorn, are you picking on me? Are you from Thursday's stream when the GitHub pink unicorns were coming up because they were having errors, and I took some screenshots of me poking fun at the GitHub unicorn. I've got to bring that back up. I positively loved it. Those were hysterical pictures. Of course, I like this one. This is great. Tests won't fail if you don't write tests. Your code always works. I was here the whole time. Ah, I see. Did you change your name? I don't remember seeing the Live Unicorn ID there. Well, thank you for joining us. I appreciate that. Let's see here. JR Cook from Blizz Pro. I've been chatting with him. We're setting up to do a coding an extension for Hearthstone, the card game that you can play online. JR Cook from Blizz Pro is going to work with me on building an extension for the Hearthstone deck tracker. That'll be cool, writing some not quite gaming code, but code that plays well and helps you with the game. And man, I'm scrolling back really far here. There I am. Love that picture. That's great. But we're setting up to build a project to go along with and help with gamers who want to play Hearthstone and get a little bit of an edge, know a little bit more about the statistics going on around the cards they're playing and whatnot. YAML builder release. Oh, what is this? Keen on starting to use that YAML builder. Do you have an ETA for getting a release? Fantastic. You know what? I think we'll schedule this to work on Tuesday morning on our next stream, because I really want to get into this unit tests thing today. I'll schedule some more work for Tuesday. What Tuesday is what day? Tuesday will be what, the 16th. On stream at, there we go. If you have any comments, type well, Jeff. If you have any comments or feedback about how I should direct that code, that feature, add them here, and we'll write it live on video. Cool. That's great. I like getting that feedback. Hey, I'm waiting for this. I really want to use this. Fantastic. You know what? I can help you out with that. We'll schedule that to be worked on. In my town, it's 9 a.m. Oh, thank you for the follow, Scary Robert. So you're one time zone. No, you're in Central. Okay, cool. So I'm going to come over here and I am going to just create an issue. Oh, how about a section on using span? Oh, that's great. Finish YAML configuration builder. And this is a request from C# Fritz configuration builders number 9, right? Yep, 9. Good. And I am going to schedule this. We'll work on January 16. Cool. All right. So that's the only issue I have over there. There was nothing in the Epic build. Let me look at the issues that were here in live stream, because we've got another one here. So I am talking to some folks here about what we want to do with JavaScript services and how to do this. How to talk about and present extending JavaScript services to swap out Webpack for Parcel. I need to learn a little bit more about Parcel first. So we'll take a look at this one. It sounds like I need to get Steve Sanderson involved, but I think we might be able to do something there. It would be good to see how to make use of the new span feature from SQL Mr. Magoo. Love the handle. That's terrific. SQL Mr. Magoo. Oh my gosh. You sound like a wise DBA. So I'm going to say my piece about span, and then I'm going to label this question. And I think we can come back to this. And actually, I've been talking to my friend Mads Torgerson a little bit. Maybe I can get him to join me for a little bit on this one. I don't know. Span, for those of you who haven't See, this is how you know this is live. Right there. For those of you who haven't seen, there's a new feature in .NET called Span. Okay? No, that's not it. No. It's being labeled a C# feature. Okay. So, that's the video. I don't want to see the video. So what a span does is it helps to organize your reference types a little bit better inside of your code and in the memory management that's going on inside of it. Here we go. Stephen Taub. Mr. Magoo, thank you for the follow. Oh gosh, is that the same Mr. Magoo sequel? Here we go. So, and does this one have the performance numbers in it? I don't see it. There was a great post I saw where somebody put the performance numbers for span side by side. And the gist of it is, when you use a span to manage your data, it'll put all the data next to each other in memory, and it'll manage it on the stack instead of on the heap. So you end up being able to reclaim that memory much, much faster than if you were doing... is that one it? AdamSitnik.com span? Adam Sitnik span. Is that the post I'm thinking of? No. This one? Might be. This might be the one. Yeah. There it is. So when you are working with a string, string's a great example because a string, even though it's a primitive type, it actually gets allocated on the heap instead of on the stack. Those two different constructs for memory management in .NET. When you use a span with that, you end up seeing significantly less memory being used. And it's crazy how much less is being used. Span must not be a parameter. Yeah. So it is stack only, can store it in a field. Right. So it's stack instances can reside only on the stack. Okay, so you can't put a reference type in there. Here's the thing that I'm seeing and that I feel, and this is just a personal thing that I see about using spans, this new feature introduced in C# 7.2. I've described this as a Microsoft focus feature, because this level of optimization, while it's terrific to be able to do, I don't think it's the first level of optimization that we as the normal 9-to-5 developers need to be doing. But if you do need to tune your application and you really need to squeeze every bit of memory out of it, every bit of processor out of it, wow, Adam did a tremendous job describing the feature here. This is terrific. It's the right feature for you if you really need to do that level of significant performance tuning. I believe that out of the gate, for most of us that are doing a typical 9-to-5, just build an app like my Stream Tools. I don't need the span feature in there. It's nice to have it, but I don't need it, right? It's not something that's going to significantly make my application better. Now, if you're writing a web server that you want to be the fastest web server out there in the world, like Kestrel, absolutely, you're going to want to have memory tuning out the nines. I live in a town. Absolutely. So we want to make sure these things, we want to make sure that this is a great experience for developers who do need to tune their code. But I think this is a great idea to talk about this new feature and show exactly how it can be used. So I'll do a little bit of research on this, see what I can do to put together some demos. Use spans when doing protocol parsing. There's a great example that Joe Bun's describing. When you're doing protocol parsing, you're at the network level and you need to squeeze performance because you want fast network connections. Absolutely. There's a great place to use spans. SignalR, we want to have that live experience going back and forth at the framework and protocol layer for SignalR. There's a great place for spans. Me writing an application that's going to paint some of the data on the screen that you see here, I'm not sure that I need to use spans. I kind of expect that my framework and tools that I'm depending on to be tuned to their maximum performance. So there you go. Playing with scissors, DDG for the win. DDG? DDG. I don't know DDG. What are you referring to with DDG there, playing with scissors? That's a pretty good handle too. DuckDuckGo, yes, of course. DuckDuckGo, actually, Gabriel lives near me here, just outside of Philadelphia. There goes my accent. All right, so, and I think that was the only new question that I had over here to address. Yeah. All right. So this, I've spoken to Immo about, Immo Landworth. He's interested in joining us on stream, talk a little bit about .NET Standard. So this will be coming up on the schedule soon here. I'm looking forward to this. And I had some weird problems with my container setup overnight. Yesterday I went and installed the patches for Meltdown and Spectre. And all of my Docker things on my development machine broke. Of course, isn't that always the way? So I had to go and do a reinstall and patch Docker, and that felt weird, but it works now. So I need to come back and test and see what's going on there. So both of these I think we're getting pretty close to being able to do. And I think Vortex, I think we're pretty good here. I'm going to close this one out. Right? So my first steps to make extension open source, create a solution in a new Git repo, copied, pasted the project, added the copied project, seems to do the trick, and I'm able to debug in the experimental instance now. Terrific. I'm going to close that because I think that question is done. All right. Federico Dynamite, welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. And yep, there go the counters up top. They're updating properly. Looks like Stop spamming caps. Oh, yeah, hang on. So I do have Nightbot running. I want to make sure that, this is a family-friendly stream. We are a little bit quick on some of the moderation. So, but welcome, Federico. Had to do your part for the follower count. Well, thank you. When we do hit that 500 number, I will be scheduling a live 8-hour workshop. It'll be a ton of fun. Grab your friends who aren't familiar with ASP.NET Core, and we'll get in and hopefully they'll learn a lot. All right. Let's see. And welcome, Matt. Welcome, Matt36. I appreciate the follow. 4:30. Oh my gosh, 70 to go. We're getting so close. It's terrific. And this is about the 2 month. This is about the 2 month. I think is next week. At about the 18th, 20th, it will be the 2 month anniversary of the stream. And to be near 500 at that point is a little bit further than I had expected. So thank you, everybody. All right, I want to roll over to the Stream Tools project here, and I'm going to start writing some unit tests go along with this. Let's see, no new issues here, no pull requests. That's fine. I liked this comment that I had received here from Kirk, saying it'd be nice if the follower goal progress bar changed colors as it gets closer to the goal number. I think this is really cool. Okay, goodbye, Scary Robert. And I'm not your father. Robert, I am not your father. I think this is a pretty neat feature. If somebody wants to write this and submit a pull request, I'll leave this open. I think it's a good first issue. And if you go ahead and submit this pull request, our friend Bruno in the chat room has done this. He's done this in the past. We'll review it. We'll talk about your code. We'll give you some feedback. And give you some credit. I really appreciate all the help that we get here. Sinclair Nader, random question. Did I get snowed on pretty bad? We haven't seen any snow this week. My area of the country here near Philadelphia, we haven't had any snow. It was pretty warm yesterday. We actually got up into the low 60s Fahrenheit. But today we're back down in the 30s. So, all right. Let's see where we're going to go next. So, our snow here in the Northeast just melted in about the last 36 hours. Yeah, it did. Everything melted. It was raining yesterday. My backyard looked like a swamp. Ugh, terrible. Let's see. I just want to take a peek over here on TweetDeck just to make sure. Cool. Nothing significant going on that we need to look at. Let's dive into the code here. Let's figure out how we can write some unit tests around this. So I'm going to open Visual Studio, and while that's opening, we'll take a look at that next comment. In West Virginia, it was 56, then went down to 14. We got around 6 inches of snow and ice underneath. Ugh. Ugh. Yay, unit tests. All right, cool. And my friends in the testing community, they're always happy to see when I talk about testing. Come on, Visual Studio. I want the edge of that. Why won't you? There we go. There we go. Line this up so it fits right on the screen. And I'm not cutting anything off with our chat there on the side. Good enough. Cool. All right. First thing I want to do, not run Excel. This is Fritz Stream Tools. You know what? Let's run PowerShell so I get my cool PoscheGet integration there and I can see what's going on a little bit. So this is feature SignalR. And we've done all those great features in SignalR. I'm going to merge this into my dev branch and then create a new branch for this unit test work that I want to do. So let me do that over here on GitHub. And I see your request from your comment there, Scissors. Let me come back to that in just a minute, but go ahead, folks in the chat room, go ahead and respond, and we'll get to that question in just a second. So, yep, not master. I want to merge this into dev. Started adding signal art. Look at all that. You create that. Yep, looks good. It should merge easily. No, due to conflicts. Oh wait, cannot be rebased. Due to conflicts encountered. Okay. Yep, let's do the command line thing. Merge this all up. So for those of you that haven't done these types of merges before... Uh-oh, GitHub's locking up on me. Actually. Come on. Poof. What happened there? What happened there? Oh my gosh. No, I've really broken it. Yes, merge conflict fun time. Absolutely. It's like happy fun ball. Do not anger happy fun ball. Just like Git. Do not anger Git. Alright, merge conflict time. Here we go. So for those of you that haven't done this, it's recommended you go and you fetch some of these things and you do the merge here. Client side. So I've actually already got that locally. So it just wants me to do a Git Merge dev in this. So let's do this. Git Merge dev. Yep. Okay, so that's actually, do I have this? Do I have this backwards? Merge 23 commits into dev from feature signal art. No, I'm good. I'm good. Git fetch origin, checkout B, feature signal R from origin signal R, git merge dev. Right, so this is where I am. Git checkout dev, git merge, no fast forward. All right, so here we go. Git checkout dev. All right, so now I'm in the dev branch. Oh, and look at this. I've actually got a couple things here that it doesn't. Right, it doesn't like here. And I'm okay with those. They're fine to leave out there. But I'm going to do that merge no fast forward on my feature signal R branch. So no fast forward says it's just going to move the pointer forward. And that actually looks like it merged properly. All right, and git push origin dev. And that should just work. Yeah. Fantastic. You know what? I will delete that feature signal R branch. I think we're ready to move on somewhere else. All right. So no more pull requests. Good. So I will delete my feature, and check this out, signal R, tab completion there. That's kind of cool. All right, and now let's check out feature, because testing is a feature. Oh, forgot to tell it it's a new branch. So git checkout -b says check out and create a new branch named feature unit tests. All right, now let me come back to the chat room. Considering learning a new language because PHP market kind of sucks in the city I'm in, that might be a great issue to start playing around with another language. Yeah, you know what? C#, ASP.NET. There's a lot of folks in big enterprises that use .NET. .NET Core, the market is heating up on. Check it out. I have a series of Microsoft Virtual Academy videos that teach you how to get started with ASP.NET. Those are all free. If you go check out on Microsoft Virtual Academy, there's videos there to teach you C#. And of course, there's some new features my colleague Maria has been adding to, she's been leading a team that's adding features to our .NET documentation that let you run C# right in the browser. And that's really cool to help you learn some of those capabilities. So I think that's a great place to check out. Federico Dynamite, I feel like we all need to learn Bash now. Agreed. And, no, I don't want that Bash. No, actually, it's over here on this one, on this machine. Let me open. I thought I had Ubuntu. Ubuntu. Gotta say Ubuntu properly. Right? There it is. And I actually have Tmux running here. Isn't that cool? Right? I can do the whole split screen thing here, and I can learn more with Bash right here in Windows. So I think we're going to need to get to that and do some development with our .NET projects here on stream, but all in Linux. Brantalk, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that, and I missed saying good morning to Steve. Oh, Steve, we miss you. And best of luck with the Clippers there, buddy. All right, more questions. Learn PowerShell, way more powerful than Bash. PowerShell's pretty good. In PowerShell, you pass objects through the pipe, whereas you only pass strings in Bash. True. Also, PowerShell is built on top of .NET, which means you can load and use just about any .NET. Yes. I love PowerShell, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I'm hearing Bash is the way of the future. Bash has a lot of capabilities. It's pretty standard. It's available a lot of different places. But PowerShell is now available on Linux and Mac as well, because they've made PowerShell open source and cross-platform. Very cool stuff, and it's a matter of choice. Which one do you want to use? Which one makes you happy? Go for it. Let's see, I'm more interested in C# than ASP.NET. Okay, that's fine. To do some Bash and Linux on the stream sounds great. Cool. I will set up for one of our .NET Core projects here in the next few days, next few broadcasts, to focus on Bash and Linux and doing all of our work in that environment. Bash is pretty nice. I absolutely love PS though, especially since PowerShell Core 6 came out. Yes, our friend Jeffrey Snover published that. Great guy. I've talked to him a couple times, haven't had a chance to really work with him directly, though. Our development team using VB Script for everything, and I convinced them that using PowerShell would be much more beneficial. Yes, it is. I think it is, particularly on Windows. When you get over into Linux, I'm not sure. I haven't tried running PowerShell on Linux yet. How many powerful things I've done at PowerShell. Created a SharePoint feature that runs PowerShell scripts. Yeah. More and more of the Windows applications that you see run PowerShell scripts behind the scenes. I can modify PowerShell script from my CDN and be fine. And that's why folks really like Bash, because Bash is portable and you get that same experience on a lot of Linux servers that are out there all over the net. Not a matter of choice for me though, all Bash for the Linux Mac stuff at work. That's fine. Then you know what? That's the choice that your organization has chosen. There's ways to work with that and still be happy as a .NET developer in Bash. Caustic, is that how you pronounce that? Hey Jeff, I may have missed it, but what is in your prompt that is highlighting the current directory and providing handy GitHub info? This is PoscheGet. This is an extension that was written for, and we were talking about this the other day, in the UK, that's kind of an interesting term to use. But PoscheGet, this is a plugin, a PowerShell module that you can use that'll give you tab completion for your Git repositories, and it gives you some great information about your current Git status as you're navigating around. Love MS tooling. I wish I could use just that between... Well, you know what? We're trying to make it easy so that you can still use that great tooling wherever you are. All right. Let's get back over to my project here. Come on, I'm alt-tabbing. There we go. So I've created a new branch here called Feature Unit Tests where I can start doing my unit test work. And I've already allocated... See, I got a little bit eager, got a little jumpy, and you can't see it behind me here. But I have a test project down here. Let's see if I can... Where is it? Gosh, where was it? New solution... Scope to this. I created a test project, and I didn't put anything into it yet. So I need to figure out what's the right point to start adding things into it, and that's what I want to do here on this stream today. And I also got jumpy, and I started saying, "Hey, I can rewrite a bot." Mahar, am I pronouncing that right? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. It's great to see you here. But at some point, I want to write a chat bot here. We're not going to be doing that today, but I got Jumpy and added that in here, and it's kind of unused code at this point. We'll figure that out in the future. So I'm actually going to be focusing on this test project that's here behind me. See it? See it there behind me in the Solution Explorer? So let's collect. There you go. Now you can see it. There it is. Hello. So where and when and how do I drop unit tests into this solution? How do we do that? All right. So this is actually just another .NET Core project. It's a .NET Core 2.0 project. Runs everywhere, Mac, Linux, Windows, and it'll run on the command line. Caustic, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. So I can add a NuGet package to this that'll have a unit test library that'll help me write my tests. And by default, kind of the unit test library that the .NET team really enjoys using is XUnit. You're welcome to use NUnit or any other unit test framework. I really like NUnit. I can also write some code in XUnit. My friend Oren Novotny is a major contributor to this project. And I like some of the work that Brad's done on this, Brad Wilson. So I think we'll use XUnit for our project this time. Now, I named my project Test because I want to make sure that it's extremely clear this is a test project. And I don't want to have any namespace conflicts. The Sparta 123, welcome. I appreciate the follow. We're writing some unit tests today for this ASP.NET Core app that we've been working on for a bit. So with XUnit, I can just start adding classes to my project that I want to be tests. So I'm not really sure what the first test is that I'm going to write, but I'll just put it out here. And in XUnit, the way that you structure your setup code for your tests is you actually write constructors, and you write any kind of dispose method that you want to use. So where with NUnit, you may have used a method that says setup fixture, and you decorated your class and said this is a fixture, right? A fixture is a collection of related tests. In XUnit, just the fact that you have a class and you decorate your methods inside of it with an attribute, fact or theory, those, just like we mark methods with test in other frameworks, will work the same way. So I'm not quite sure what I want to test yet, but I just want to get something out here. So I've got a point to start at. So I'm going to open back up my stream tools here, and I think there's basically two groups of things that I want to test. Now, testing the setup for the project, I'm not sure I want to go through and test my setup classes here, because this feels like something that's very specific to this project, and while I could write unit tests that effectively pin this functionality in place and ensures that it works properly, I think it'll be very brittle tests, because as the project evolves, my tests will break. So I don't want to do that. What I really want to test, though, are things like my controllers, my pages, and my services. So what do you think? Does that sound like a good place to jump in here? Let me know. So if I look at my services here, I've got these are the services, these are the things that are connecting out to Twitch and Mixer to generate the two widgets that you see up at the top of the screen, right? That viewer count, the follower count goal there, and the number of current followers in the top right of the screen. So it's going and fetching the data from these two endpoints, and then I've got this one stream service that Bruno contributed last time that aggregates all of these things together, right? And it allows me to reference all of those services abstractly, right? I don't have to hard code, do this with Twitch in any of my user interfaces. So I think I want to write some tests around. I want to write some around this thing. Okay. The boss is texting me here. I'm checking my watch to make sure that things are okay there. And when I say the boss, those of you that are married know that, of course, I mean Mrs. Fritz. Got to make sure that things are going well where she is today. I think it's better to do the startup thing. Okay. Let's see why Playing with Scissors recommends this. If you're going to modify them a lot, there are bigger chances you'll break something else that uses it. That's not bad. I see where you're going there. So to dig further into Playing with Scissors comment there in the chat room, when I have things like configure streaming services over here, and I do the things to configure, here's the Twitch endpoint, here's the Mixer endpoint, to make sure that these things are configured, regardless of where I move things around in the project. That's not too bad. Federico says, I tend to add startup stuff, not change it so much. Yeah, so let me take your comment, Scissors, and let me just put that on the shelf for right now. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add a folder here, and I will call it Startup. And I'm going to add a class under here. And I'll call it Configure Services. Let's format that, because I only use 2 space tabs. I don't need to see these huge spaces over here. And I'm just going to create a method in here. Pin this functionality. And I'm going to put an ignore attribute on this. This way I see it. It's out there. Now, what is it? M Sapien? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. Gosh, what is the XUnit ignore? Right? XUnit attribute. I thought it was ignore. Right? So they do fact skip equals reason. Fantastic. That makes sense. So we'll do fact skip equals, not sip, skip equals need to write these tests. Okay. And then I'm just going to mouse over fact and control period, generate my using statement. So it's going to skip this test, but it'll still run it for me when I need it. Now I can run my unit tests. Let's go over here to test. No, not architecture. Bad, not architecture. Test. There we go. Run all tests. And it should come back and say that it ignored this. Come on. There's all my build happening. Build succeeded. And here's my test explorer. Found it and it's ignored. Terrific. All right. So, you know what? Let's pin this on the bottom. Nope. Too far. Too big. This one. There we go. So we can see a little bit about what the tests are doing. Hi, bro. What design patterns do you use? Automatic injection. Post. Yes, red-green refactor. With the .NET Core project that we have here, we are doing dependency injection, which is a form of the strategy pattern. So you'll see me use that a bit. And of course, things like the stream service, Twitch service, Mixer service, those are types of repositories that I'm attaching to as well. So you could say I'm using the repository pattern as well. But I don't like to get hung up on patterns. I just like to write code that feels good. There are times where where it's a good idea to zoom in on patterns and use those to learn how to make our code better. But I want to start off with just getting it working, and then we can refactor into some better patterns. That's a good question, and design patterns are certainly something great to learn from. And it's been forever since I've read Code Complete. That's a great book if you want to learn a little bit more about good ways to structure your code. And of course, the Gang of Four book, right? That's a great book to check out. And I think it's on my shelf behind the green screen over here. If you're not familiar with the Gang of Four Design Patterns book, there it is. Right, this is called the Gang of Four book from Eric Gamma, Richard Helm, Ralph Johnson, and John Vlasedes. Really great book about design patterns. If you want to learn more about design patterns, I encourage you to check that out. It's been forever since I read that also. And I work with Eric Gamma now also. So I actually had somebody suggest that I bring Eric on and we do a little bit of discussion on the stream, but I'm not quite sure where to plug him in yet. Eric's a pretty smart guy. I want to make sure that I have a good place to add him in here. So we'll see about that. Fierce Kittens, I don't normally need to read it until you're prepping for interviews again. Well played, yes. You normally don't need to read those books until you're going to go into those interviews and people are going to say, on the design pattern, the strategy pattern, how exactly should you be structuring your interface? What's the one method you should have on a command pattern? Go away. Yellow Brick Code says, when I was first learning about design patterns, I found the Gang of Four book tough going. It is. When you're first learning, it is very tough going. I started with Head First Design Patterns to ease me in and use the Gang of Four book as a reference later. Absolutely. A couple of my friends, Steve Smith, has a couple of videos where he talks about design patterns and he shows you them, and it's really easy to learn from Steve. And also, a former colleague of mine, Phil Japixi, has a number of videos available on Channel 9, I don't think he's on Pluralsight, but he's on LinkedIn Learning. And you can learn a little bit more about design patterns from them. I learned from Fowler's Enterprise Design book. Okay, Martin Fowler's design books are very intense. They're very heavy. And they're great doorstops, too. Just saying. Pluralsight has a great reference course on design patterns. Yes. Fierce Kittens, thank you for the follow. I don't have my Exploding Kittens deck handy here. But it's around. Actually, it's probably on the game shelf downstairs. So, my kids got me a couple new, what are they called? Funko Pops for Christmas that I'm staring at up here. The Overwatch character McCree and Lucio. So, they're way up there. You're the first streaming programmer that actually talks about this stuff like me. Hey! Well, welcome, Fierce Kittens. I think there's a level that we're all trying to get to here. And I want to make sure that and I know some folks that join me at, for many streams, folks like Joe Bunn, Check Digits, he joins in. Fossils, I've seen you a number of times here. I don't want to completely reset the level each time, but I want to make sure that that I get people in and they're comfortable with some of the terms and things that I use here. Good-looking headsets. Who's done it? This is for those of you that may be interested, this is a Skull Candy. This is a Skull Candy Hesh 2. I really like it because it lets me go wired and also wireless with my phone. I had a problem on a flight to Stockholm. When I was flying to Stockholm, I was going Philadelphia to London, and I had a trusty pair of Sony headphones plugged into the armrest because I was watching whatever movie on the seat back. And I got up to get something out of my bag or whatever, and as I got up, the folks with the cart came by and they nudged me back into my seat, and that nudge snapped off the connector at the end of my headset. That felt really, really bad. And when you get angry about something like that on a plane over international waters, it's not a good thing. Not good. So I had a lovely chat with the supervisor on the plane, and yeah, we got that worked out. So I've been moving to wireless headsets more and more, so that while I'm on a plane, I don't have to worry about a wire. But when I am broadcasting, I'm going to use a wire because I want that reliable connection. So there you go. It's great to watch someone who talks at the computer like I do. I'm not talking at the computer. I'm talking at this camera right here. And all of you, my friends out there that are joining me here this morning. Aren't international waters lawless? Kind of. It's up to the pilot. And if there is somebody from U.S. military, because it is an American flight that's flying, that on staff on the plane, they can take care of things using whatever force they so choose. Fierce Kittens, I've been programming for 17 years. I'm all good by you. Fairly new to C#. I've used it at work, but shifted from C++, so I've written code in a very native fashion. Okay, that's pretty cool. Oh, I see. Federico Dynamite, when I talk to the computer, say, that's not what I meant. The wife, Mrs. Fritz, she is constantly yelling at her PC. Oh my gosh, I clicked on that thing, but that's not what I wanted to do. What are you doing? Now I gotta wait for this thing to open. I hate you, Windows. When in fact, she's the one that clicked on it. Typical, it's all about unit testing, and I'm out and about and can't watch live. We'll have to come back and watch this later. No problem. We'll, of course, have this recorded, and we'll come back to it later. And just as I talk about the wife, she texts me. Okay. So we're going to come back to this. By using this fact indication here, it communicates, back to the code, right? It communicates to the XUnit framework that this method is a test that needs to be executed when we tell it to execute all of our tests. And because I'm using this skip attribute here, I'm giving it a reason and saying, don't actually execute this. Pick it up, report it, but don't actually execute anything here. Oh, okay, Federico. Yes, my wife and I are your computer soulmates. All right. So we'll get back to Jamot. I'm sure I'll be blogging about this later today, and because I feel like I'm going to end up blogging weekly about with the wrap ups on this. I've been very distracted this week and haven't been able to write my wrap up blog posts. But of course, the recording will go over to YouTube later. All right. So this configure services method over here, we'll get back to that later, and pinning this down. I think that's a great idea that Scissors had, but it's not the primary thing that I want to test, right? What are the things that are fragile? What are the things that I want to ensure work properly and every time? So let's take a look at those. And that's particularly here in Stream Service, where I've got a couple of very basic things here, and I've really got it abstracted out where I don't have any references to Twitch or Mixer. So I think that's where I want to start. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add some folders here just to give this a little bit of structure so that my tests look and feel like they're describing exactly what they're working on. And that's back there behind me again. So let's rename this. So I'm going to call this services, and then I will add another folder that's specific to stream service. And now I'll start adding some classes to this. Oh, you know what I should do? We haven't run Karnak in a while. Let's get Karnak running. Karnak is a little plugin here that'll show you some of these hotkeys that I'm hitting as I'm working in Visual Studio, because I tend to use them a lot. I want to make sure that you know them without me having to call them out each time. Right? So there I used Alt-Shift-C to open the add class dialog. All right. So stream service. Let's the amazing Karnak, yes. You do not want to see my bot's code. It was when I was learning C#. It's so nasty, I have to reorganize it. You know what? If code works, great. The biggest feature that you can have in your project is that you shipped. If you shipped code, it works. If you want to refactor it to make it maintainable, because you're going to be maintaining that thing for years to come, that's where unit tests come in and are really great, because you can start to wrap those things, move features around, and you're confident that they'll continue working the way that your API was structured. So I'm going to call this aggregate. Let's call this now sum, right? Because I want to make sure that I'm summing the different values for these for the properties of my service properly, right? So this is going to be a very simple test, because I just want to look at that stream service and make sure that it is working properly. A stream on debugging Karnak. I think that might be another good idea. That might not be a bad idea at all. Because, and Joban knows this, Karnak is going to crash in about 5 minutes. I say that because I haven't seen your PHP bot. Oh, PHP. I think there's one person in this world who can write PHP really well, and his name is Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah. That's why I need to do unit tests. Most of my time is spent on refactoring way too much. Yeah. And it takes way too much time for me to ship things. I think I know where you're going there. All right, so I want to check first current follower count here. So public void current follower count. All right, and you label your tests with this fact attribute using xunit. So I'll fill in that using statement, and now I can start to do the 3 A's around my unit tests. And I like to label these because it just makes sense, and it helps to organize exactly what it is that I'm doing. And when I talk about the 3 A's in unit tests, of course, arrange, act, and assert. Arrange, set up the things that you're going to be working with. Act, do what it is that you're testing. And then assert, verify that your test succeeded, right? Or fail appropriately. Any rule about posting links in chat? No, you can post links. Assuming there's, I'm assuming you're going to be posting something that isn't dirty or anything like that. How you know that about Zuckerberg? Well, Eric asked that question. The original Facebook was written with PHP. And I watched the Social Network movie. Facebook is made in PHP. Yeah, if you navigate around Facebook, you'll see some PHP pop up there. Step 1 is getting it working. Step 2 can be getting it faster, better, but if step 1 never happens, you'll never get to step 2. Good comment there from Ward. And I'm a longtime PHP developer. And in fact, who is it? Who was talking about, was it Fierce Kittens about PHP? And Sinclairinator? There's a great plugin, there's a great library that some folks are working on called Peach Pie. Peach Pie lets you compile your PHP using the Roslyn compiler from .NET. Think about that one for a second. Compile PHP with the .NET compiler. This means from your PHP code, you can actually reach out and call .NET methods and libraries. That is really cool. But it also means you can do things like recompile WordPress with .NET. So now you're going to get the optimizations in .NET, and you're also going to get it locked down and statically compiled, so it's not being interpreted at runtime. Pretty interesting stuff. That's a link from Pastebin from Playing with Scissors. The Facebook website may have been, but the mobile apps are in React Natives. Yes, they are. The services on the server side, though, are a lot of PHP that they're connecting to. I'm terribly ashamed of that code, but hey, it worked a bit. Ooh, I heard about Peach Pie. I think I saw it on the .NET Foundation page. Yes. And in fact, we had the founders of Peach Pie give an hour-long presentation as part of the .NET Conf event on Channel 9. Really cool stuff. Having tests gives great confidence if you code when doing refactoring. Yeah, having tests first really helps with that. All right, let me get into this and write some of this code. So I'm going to be creating a stream service, and in order for me to create that, I need to have a collection of stream services that I'm going to be summing against here. So those interfaces, I don't want to create my own stream service, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull in, yep, I don't have it here yet. I'm going to pull in what's called a mocking library. And it's not because I'm going to insult my code, but I'm actually going to create fake instances of things that are in my in interfaces and those types of things. And I like to use the library called mock or mockq. Sometimes I hear it called. So I'll install this. Real easy to use, real easy to structure, and be able to say, hey, give me those couple of things that I need for my project. Good. .NET Standard, so this should work just fine over here in my .NET Core project, because this implements and works as a .NET Standard library. Mock is awesome and powerful. Yes, it is. It's really cool stuff. So I'm going to set up my my tests here by setting up my mock repository, right? My mock repository is what's going to hold and maintain those objects that I'm going to be creating. So this is a new mock repository, and I'll control dot on that, generate my using statement, and let's create this field. Yep, it's a read-only field. We don't want to do anything to tinker with it. If you wanted to do some complex stuff in mock, I wouldn't be against learning from that. Well, we'll see how complex we decide to get. Now, I need to tell it the default behavior that I want to use with my mock repository. I like to tell it, you know what, be loose. You can return default values when necessary instead of strict, which says throw an exception if something is called that I didn't explicitly set up. So I'll explain a little bit more about this. So in my arrange here, I want to set up a fake streaming service, because this stream service brings in other stream services. In our case right now, Twitch and Mixer. But I'm going to create a streaming platform. That's okay. That's super odd. I can see someone named Sinclair talking on the stream, but not here. So here's the thing. I'm syndicating. To answer the question in the chat room, I syndicate my this stream to both Twitch and Mixer, and that's why you see the little icon at the beginning of folks' names there, because the chat room you see on stream is actually a unified chat from both Mixer and Twitch. So that's why you're seeing some folks in some parts of the world and in some businesses, they're not able to log on to Twitch, but they are able to log on to Mixer when I'm broadcasting. Also, the bosses called me one day and say, we see you're streaming. It'd be really great if you used our service. Okay, we'll do that too. I'm a partner and it's against my contract. Yeah, I need to figure that out also, because what's it called? I'm that lowest level on Twitch, not just a streamer. I forget what they call it. It's not is it? Partner is the highest level. It's what do they call it on Twitch? Yeah, not partner. Oh, I'm an affiliate. Yeah. I think there is an exclusivity contract, and I've been trying to work with the folks at Twitch to make sure that I get that worked out, because I want to make sure that I'm not angering folks. And it does let me export immediately to YouTube. So I don't think I'm in a bad place right now, and nobody's reached out and said, hey, you can't do that. But to be fair, folks that are watching on Twitch, and I don't have partner status on Mixer. Mixer does something weird with their partner. If you do want to subscribe to show your support for the stream, I really appreciate that. I'm flattered that you would do that. Or if you want to cheer, that's great. We'll certainly recognize that. The event box will show here. I'm not doing this for the money. If you do that, those things, I will match your contribution. I will match your subscription, your cheer, and which means that my employer will match it as well. So you actually get a triple match, and I'm going to donate those proceeds to Girl Develop It. That's a nonprofit organization that's teaching women and underserved minorities how to be good developers. I think it's a great project. It's a great effort, and I'm more than happy to support those folks. We haven't quite hit a level here yet where some of those dollar values have been paid out, but it's not something that I'm looking forward to. But I absolutely want to make sure that those folks get the support if folks here do want to contribute and do something. So I am flattered, and I thank you if you want to cheer, if you want to subscribe, but it's not something that I require or encourage you to do. So Tagaron, I'm an N substitute, and it works great for me. Hey, fantastic. N substitute's a great library that you can use as well. Preach, absolutely. There we go. Oh gosh, Fierce Kittens, thank you. Like I said, completely unnecessary, but thank you. I really appreciate that. I am very much flattered by that. So I'm getting back into this. Let's create our fake streaming service that we're going to connect to and test with here, right? So this fake streaming service, right? You know what? Let's call it Jeff Streams. How's that sound? We can create this, and we can tell. We'll create this stub version of this by saying mockery create, and we'll just implement the iStream service interface that all of my stream services in the Stream Tools project use. Now it's giving me a red underline here because it doesn't know how to reference that. So I'm going to add a reference to that project. Visual Studio does that for me automatically, and I get the interface, and now it knows what this thing is. And I'm actually going to... yeah, that's fine. So that's the name of my stream service. Let's make a mockery of that service. Absolutely. And that's why it feels kind of funny to read your code then. So I've got that service. Let's see. Let's call this... you know what? Handles one service. Let's do that to start. So we'll actually create a new stream service. Daniel, welcome, Daniel. Is that Daniel Gerasim? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. This is actually going to be under services, stream service. Now, when this is created, right, the stream service object here, right? Oh, it's the wrong one. All right, hang on. This is a Fritz, Stream Tools, Services, Stream Service. There we go. It takes a collection of these. So I'm just going to create a new collection, and I'll pass in jeffstreams.value. Right? Or is it object? That's what it is, object. So when you create this mock object, by default, it's this mock of whatever interface it is that you're implementing. And you can also mock abstract classes, even concrete classes with a little bit of work. So this mock object, I can set up and I can configure in additional commands here. But when I'm ready to use it, I need to actually output and say, all right, grab the real object here, this dot object. And we can start looking at the values coming out of that. So now I can assert, let's take the actual action here, right? So SUT is, for in case anybody's wondering, this is an abbreviation I use for system under test, right? This way I know this is the thing that I'm testing, right? All these other variables, I don't care about them, but the SUT one in my method, that's the important one that I want to pay attention to. Would it be better to move the interfaces and base models outside of the main project for separation? Great question, Sinclairinator. And when you grow to a certain size of your project, I completely agree with you. But because this is a little project and I'm not quite there yet, I'm holding off on that. But I think that's a refactoring that I should do as we grow this service. Completely agree with you. just not yet. Let's wait till we grow a little bit further. So, the value that I actually want to inspect here, right? So we'll call this sum, and we'll just say SUT, and we're going to look at the current follower count. Right, now current follower count is going to execute that sum, and we should get a value coming out. But what's the value we should expect coming out? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say Jeff streams. I'm going to do a setup get. Right, I'm going to set up a get on. Oh, there goes Karnak. There you go, Jobun. Woohoo! We crashed Karnak. Go away. So setup get. Right, this lets me set up a property. Right. Come on now. Specifies a setup on a mock type for a property, for a call to a property getter. All right. So, and then it wants a link expression. So, this is going to be against my streams. And I'm going to set up the get for the current follower count. And I can say now returns. And I can force a value in here. And I don't want to just specify a number in here, right? I actually want it to be a constant somewhere so I can reference it and pull it back in both places. So I'm going to create something here called current followers. And just to make sure that it's not the same thing every time, I like to use new, right? Where is it? New random. And I don't need a seed. And I'm going to say, give me the next. And I can specify min value, max value. So somewhere between, let's say, 10 and, I don't know, 100. And instead of returning just a fixed number here, I'm going to return that current followers number that I specified here. This way my test is a little bit randomized, and I know that it's not just hard-coded to return a specific value. So my assert is quite easily assert equals, right? And then my equals statement, come on. Where's my IntelliSense? I want to show that, right? Yeah. No! No. Equal. There we go. That's better. Right. So whatever the value was that I expected to be returned. Right. So current followers. And then the sum is the value that I was inspecting. And I don't want precision. There was in NUnit, there's a way to specify the error message. I don't really need to do that here. So we'll just save. And now I can tell it run all of my tests. It'll pick up this test. And we should see it output here at the bottom. And hopefully everything comes and it reports properly and we get my proper sum. So there it is, and it did execute properly. Fantastic, and I get a little green check in here. Now, I'm running the Enterprise edition of Visual Studio. Right? There it is, Visual Studio Enterprise. I think it'll do it in the Community Edition also. I know it does it here. Error messages on assert are incredibly useful. Yes, they are. But we can't do that here, which is weird. Whatever. So what you can do, and what I like to do, is I like to go into test and turn on live unit testing. Now, live unit testing is a feature that is great to use because my test explorer will just update and tell me what's going on as my code changes. Playing with scissors. Otherwise, you get messages like failed asserting that 3 is equal to 5 and you have no idea what is wrong. Yes. Oh, and fluent assertions definitely help with that. Absolutely. All right, there we go. That's better. Now, those live unit tests give me these green checks down the side to show me that it's actually running this code, and all the tests that cross this line of code work. It also means if I go over here to stream service, I can now see lines in here that it's tested, and they just work. And, right, going down here, you can see these lines with minuses, they haven't been tested yet. Those lines haven't been executed as part of a test. So let's let's see. I do a watch -n color vendor PHP unit color equals always for mine. So you get some cool coloring by your test project. That's very cool. Live unit testing is only available in VS Enterprise, correct? I believe so. Otherwise, you need a third-party add-on. NCrunch is a great feature, a great extension that you can buy and add on. But this is free with Visual Studio Enterprise. So I want to make sure that I show you this is what comes in the box when you have that extended version. I want to make sure this current followers count also handles multiple services here. So I'm actually just going to copy, paste, and let's change this to say multiple services. Let's create another, and we will call this other stream service, and we will say, you know what, let's get rid of this and just put that right there. That makes it a little bit easier. I will copy and paste that, and we will say other stream service, and I'll do that same new random over there. So we get that value coming back. So now my system under test, I want to make sure that I'm checking for 2 services. So now let's pass in both other stream service object. And the sum, well, what I'm expecting shouldn't be just the one, and current followers doesn't actually exist here. Ah, wait. Let's do this, right? This doesn't work, and if I just type in a value here, this should fail appropriately, because the sum shouldn't be 1, right? It is failing. And as I forget who it was saying there, playing with scissors. Yeah, my error here, right? Not that one. My error is just expected this, and I got something else, and it doesn't really tell me what it was testing. So I feel like I have to write some additional code in there to actually indicate what's going on. Yellow brick code, I use NCrunch with NUnit. It definitely recommend it. I love NCrunch. I used NCrunch before I joined Microsoft, and it was tremendous. Chip ND, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate that. Watch is a Unix command that runs a command every X seconds set up by the end parameter. We have something similar. So here's the thing, right? If you don't want to, if you're running that community edition and you don't have live unit testing here, I'll just turn that off for a second. You can get a little bit of this functionality. Teja, for you, thank you for the follow. That's great. I appreciate the follow. You can get something similar with this functionality to be able to watch your code if you bring in and use, where is it? The same watch tool that we have over here for our ASP.NET project. So I'm just going to copy that same line, and you reference this package, and you can't do it through the user interface yet, but you reference this by adding a .NET CLI tool reference, and it's called Microsoft.NET Watcher Tools. So version 2.0, and this will allow me to actually run the tests and watch them from my console window. So let's do that. I'm going to go down into the test project here, right? I can even do ls in PowerShell. That's so cool. And from over here, right, I can do .NET test, and it'll actually compile and run my tests all in one shot, just like how I use .NET Run to run my ASP.NET Core application. And there you go. I get my fail, and I get cool error message coming out. Now I can use that watch the same way that I did .NET Watch Run. If I do .NET Watch Test, this will watch my code, and as the C# files change, it'll rerun my tests, and it'll give me my complete set of tests report here. So that's pretty cool to do too. You can do that in Visual Studio Code, just have it run in the console window down at the bottom, similar to how I have this laid out, and you'll just get that report output for you. Nice to see someone live coding. Always wanted to try. Well, welcome, Chip ND. I appreciate that. It's good to know. The reason I mainly sticked with PHP is because I could never replicate my setup, which is really well thought and been used for years. Oh, I get it. Absolutely. And I'm trying to make information about my setup that I use here on stream available for folks to be able to see and pick up if you want to use the same thing. All right, so let's fix this unit test so it kind of makes sense what it's doing here. And you're right, these random numbers, they should be, these need to be locals. So we'll just call this Jeff's followers, and I'll grab this one, and I'll control period, introduce a local for that, and I'll call it other followers, right? So the sum, of course, right, and this is basic stuff, Jeff's followers plus other followers. Save that. Now I'll go back over here to this. You see my build starting the text execution, and everything was successful. I got green instead of red. Life's good. I'm happy. So there you go. Right, very simple set of unit tests to make sure that that is aggregating properly. I have to use PHP at work because it took IT 2 weeks to try to set up an IIS box, and they still kept failing, but wouldn't let our team fix it. Okay, IIS should be really easy to set up. Yeah, it should be. All right, so that's running properly. So you've seen how this runs here in the console. If you want to work that way, I'm going to turn on live unit tests over here, and I'm going to continue working so I can stay in one application. But I want to make sure that you can see that this capability is available even if you don't want to have full Visual Studio running this. Now, I could duplicate and run this for all of my different services, and that's going to get tiresome and it's going to be annoying. And testing that we're notifying all of the services here, that feels kind of weird. The count by service, though, this is one that I feel like I should test just to make sure that this select statement and anything else that we stick into this thing is structured properly. They even botched a CentOS install. I had to fix that this week. Okay. Yeah. Sounds like you need to get your friends there some training, some assistance. That feels weird. Where did I close that other class? Stream service. There it is. Right, so this is count by service. I want to make sure that I'm testing that. So let's add a new class here. Count by service. Now here's where I start getting paranoid and thinking, oh my gosh, I should refactor and make things that I'm reusing in all of my tests accessible to everything. So I'm going to start writing it. Here's a new mockery, and I'm going to create it, and I'm going to receive it and handle it. And I think this should be in, I don't want to rewrite that in every class. Right, so here's where I start thinking of, right, base fixture classes. Ah, come on. There we go. Right? So this is a trick that I like to use just so I'm not rewriting more and more code for my tests, right? So I want to put my mock repository here. So this is a... no. That's fine. Right? And I'm just going to say mockery equals new mock repository, right? I need to generate that, and I need mock behavior loose, and mockery I'm going to create now as a property. I don't want to make it public, I want to make it actually protected, so that just the classes that inherit from base fixture have access to this. So I think that's all that I need to start off a base fixture here. And I can now start inheriting from that. And I can get rid of this. And I think I can get rid of that too. Right? Terrific. And mockery doesn't exist anymore, so we get rid of that. Same thing here and there. And now with that refactoring, I should see my tests go through and everything run properly here. Yep, everything's green, looks good. And I'm now refactored and using a base fixture, and I don't have to declare a new mock repository every time I create a test fixture. So now let's make this, we got to make it public so that XUnit can see it. And we'll inherit from base fixture. And I want to make sure that we're separating those things out properly. So should count separately. All right, and I want to create those two services like I had before over here. So let's start off by copying, nope, not that one, this one. All right, paste that in. Now I've got a little bit more setup here that I need to do. Let's include that. Good. Need my XUnit reference. Good. All right. Let's move these around a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Nope, that's not. Red alert. Moved it into the wrong place. All right. I want carriage return there. And it's not executing these lines because this isn't decorated as a fact yet. Good. Now, I'm creating the stream service and I'm going to pass in my two objects here. And let me actually wrap that a little bit so we can see what these things are. And I'm not grabbing the sum, right? Instead, I want to get the count by service. So we'll just call this count. And instead, this is count by service. So now I've broken things, which is, that's not bad, that's fine. And now I want to actually inspect that and make sure that I have, well, I want to make sure that there's two services, right? So let's say count dot, and look at that. Count by service, yeah, it's an IEnumerable. IEnumerable, that's right. So, why is it looking at an int? Oh, wait. Yeah. Count dot. Now, why am I not getting... If this is... Oh, you know what? I don't have my... Yeah, there we go. Include system link. You're right. I'm not including system link yet. System.link. There we go. And that'll get me my link extension methods. Fantastic. Thank you for the reminder there. I've got two, right? I've kind of hard-coded that because I'm only creating two of these. I want to make sure that I actually do get two back for what I've created here, and that's executing properly. Good. I want to make sure that the two are the two that I added. What am I doing now? Slow Polar Bear asks. So what I'm doing now is I'm testing to make sure that I'm getting a properly structured object coming back that has references to the two services that I've injected into it. But I also, right, I want to make sure, right, I want to do like not equal. I don't want it to be the empty one, but count, now it won't let me do that. Let's look at the first. It's not, and I need to actually give it, there we go. Right, I want to make sure that it's not an empty string is the name of that service. Right, it should actually have a name, and that's actually a false positive there. That's weird. What's the name of the service it returned? Because that should be broken. I have to head out and get some errands done. Great to meet you. Great to see you, Fierce Kittens. Thanks for joining us today. And it's still saying that's okay. Weird. Because that's a false positive. That can't be right. This is not a real service. That's not equal to foo. It's true. Right. You're right. All right, so it should also not be equal to null. There we go. All right. So now I need to actually give the services names. So, right, let's say Jeff streams, setup get, and we're going to say that the name is Jeff. And we'll set up this other one. We'll do the exact same line. Except this is other stream service. Make sure that returns other. Okay. So now let's change this to equal. Make sure that's right. Nope. That one worked. All right. Current, skip 1, take 1. No, skip 1 first. Service. Right, and now I should get that equal as well. No. Okay, so those are my two names. So it's not getting them out properly. Why not? Is it that I have these backwards? I didn't think it would. Yep. That was it. You're sending Jeff first, but testing others first. No, I'm testing... Oh. There we go. All right. So we had a little bit of order thing there. So now I also need to make sure that the count came out properly with those. So we'll just inspect that property real quick. So that is Jeff's followers, count first, count, and then just to inspect this one, it will be other followers, count, skip, first, count, and that should be equal. All right, so it doesn't like this one. Why doesn't it like that one? Right, Jeff's followers should be coming out when we say oh, look at that. Well, we just found something. This is viewer count by service, not follower count by service. So it's actually summing the current viewer count, not the current follower count. Check that out. So let's change this to follower count by service. No. We'll make this one viewer count by service. And we'll create another one, and we'll call it follower count by service. So I would like to think that we found what would have been a logic bug or a documentation bug because the name of the method, the property, didn't match my expectation. So now this is telling me, well, that's not what you think it is. So now everything should work. Yep, classic misnaming of method names. And there we go, everything works. All right. So I'm actually also going to rename this class, right? And I'm going to use an F2 here and call it follower count by service. Did it rename the file? It didn't rename the file. Let's control dot on that. It's not letting me rename the file. Why won't it let me rename the file? Excuse me. Let's do an F2 over there. Follower count by service. Fantastic. All right. So now I've got my follower count. Should count those separately. That feels like it's working properly. But I'm going to do almost the exact same thing here for viewer count. So I'm actually just going to copy and paste this. And rename that. Get rid of the word copy. And change this to viewer. And now this one is going to be viewer count by service. Should count separately. Now instead of setting up a get on the current follower count, let's just rename these things to viewers. And I'm going to change this setup get to current viewer count. Good. We'll do the same thing here. Change this to viewers. And change this to current viewer count. Good. Then my test is going against viewer count by service. And everything works. Fantastic. Another classic Control-C, Control-V, Control-H. Absolutely. But you know what? We found something that would have been confusing to somebody downstream implementing and consuming this project. So I'm actually kind of happy with that. But I mean, this is a very simple test, right? There isn't a lot of business logic here that I'm testing a sum. Big friggin' deal, right? So what? What I really want to test, the piece here that's going to be a lot more complex, and I think Jobon knows where I'm going next year, is I actually want to reach into things like the Twitch service. And I want to inspect how it's interacting with some of these things. Because when it does things like start Twitch monitoring, it's going to reach out and it's interacting with that Twitch service. And to test how I'm interacting, how I'm getting things back from it, this feels very tightly coupled to Twitch. I would argue it's too coupled. And the fact that I'm doing this new statement in here to get my Twitch API, it's creating glue that's tying this class directly to this implementation and not letting me test some of the things that I really want to test in here, like what happens when new followers are detected? Are we properly raising this event? And when that event is raised, make sure it carries the appropriate information with it. Is it really a good idea to test the services list in a strict order? Your contract does not force an order, does not force a sequence of services to be returned. That makes the test unstable. I would suggest brittle. I think you're right, Tagaran. Those two services are really not written with testing in mind. Exactly, Jobon. And I think that's the refactoring exercise that would be really interesting to go through here on stream. But let me address Tagaran's comment there, because it's a very good one. That I'm trying to inspect these things, and by using this first statement here, I'm assuming that these are in the right order. So you're right. That's probably not a good idea with this test. Let's change that. I think that's a good catch, and great feedback. Thank you. So let's say I think I can do a contains. Verify that a string contained a given substring, but I think I can also do that, yes, with a collection. So let's do this. Let's inspect my collection that came back, and let's make sure that it has one. Right, my filter right? Make sure that it does contain one with a service named Jeff. Good. I can do the same thing then to replace this other, right? So let's just copy paste, and we'll replace this with other. And now we'll know if that's actually in there. Good. So now when I do this assert equal Jeff's followers count first count, I can actually say c.service equals Jeff. So go find that specific one. And I can do the same trick with my first over here. Go find this one. C service equals other count. Make sure it outputs those properly. Maybe your Twitch handler class is doing too much. It should only trigger interfaced events into another class, which would be unit testable. You're getting somewhere, play with scissors. You're getting where I want to be. So this looks like it's working properly now, and it's not coupled to the ordering there. Great comment from Tagaran. Thank you. Gold star to you, sir. Or ma'am, whatever the case may be. I'm trying not to assume gender or anything like that. So now let me come back over here. Let's do the exact same thing instead of count first service. I just want to say contains. Yep. And we're going to be inspecting the count collection, and it's c dot service equals Jeff. Make sure that that's there. Contains. We're going to check count. And we're going to say c dot service equals other. And then I can do my same trick here. C dot service equals Jeff. Don't need to do the skip. C dot service equals other. There we go. You like my hat? Thank you. This is a Doctor Strange Eye of Agamotto hat. Nothing on the underside today. My other Doctor Strange hat. Here it is. This is the one that my daughter recommended I get. It actually has the good doctor underneath. Alright. Because of course, I look just like the doctor. Scary. Because Benedict took my look. So there you go. Alright, what do we got here? The filter on first will do the contains check for you. Yes, but I want to do that assert. So the contains check is really not needed. Certainly, I could do this as assert not null and say count dot first or default. Right, and have that level of check there. And you're right, I could certainly wipe that out and just let these fail properly. So, to each of their own, right? If this was named foo, I'll know immediately that it can't find a foo there, right? And the error that it returns to the comment that we had earlier, sequence contains no matching element, that... Okay, fine. I've written less code. And you know what, for completeness, just to make it a nice demonstration of this other technique, and there you go, playing with scissors. That's the comment. That's exactly the learning point here. When it fails, XUnit won't tell you if it's the contains statement, if the service was not found, or if the count didn't match. You really have to read the exception in order to learn that information. So that's a great point. I'm going to leave it like this just so that we have both ways documented here for this project, the two different ways that you can inspect this. But let's go back and let's talk about how we can test this thing. right? Because I wanted to get into, and the question that we had a little bit earlier is, let's do something a little bit more complex with our testing. Oh, it doesn't get much more complex than this. So if I want to test how I'm monitoring and how I'm interacting with Twitch, and then I'm responding properly and handling the events that are raised by Twitch, or that I'm handling the data that's returned to me properly, I want to test this class. This class is what's doing that interaction. And absolutely, whoever it was that was saying it earlier, it's a mess. This is really tightly coupled here. How can we go around that tightly coupling and get at really things like, where are we here? Check views. There's another one here. New follower detected. How do we handle, right? How do we inspect this and make sure that this is doing the right thing, that it is properly changing the current follower count here? I actually had a bug in here before where I was doing an interlocked increment, and I could have run into a race condition there. Yeah. So I want to test things like this method and make sure that we're handling the interaction with Twitch properly. How do I do that? How do I interact with it? Because it's gonna be weird, right? So, looking at this right now, right? Let's break this down. When the service is created, we take in configuration and a logger factory. For the purposes of our test, I don't care about either of those things. I can pass in null or a mock logger that we can inspect later. I'm okay with that. But when we get down here, when we actually start touching the Twitch service, right? Here's where it's a little bit strange, a little bit tricky, that we're creating all of these things that are tightly coupled to Twitch lib that could be difficult, could be strange to interact with and test, right? Because I mentioned earlier, new is glue. These new statements here are gluing this class to Twitch lib. It's tightly coupled now. How can we mock this? How can we send in a fake Twitch service so that when we are testing, I'm not dependent on actually reaching out to twitch.tv and inspecting values coming back from them? That would be weird. That's more of an integration test. So what do we do? How are we going to do this? Well, there was one comment that I saw earlier in the chat. I could extract this and put it into a very tightly coupled Twitch library, right? Or a Twitch class that just provides a straight interface into these values. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And I could call it Twitch Manager or something. But now I'm starting to have abstractions on abstractions. Do I need to test my Twitch Manager that it's returning values properly? Well, I don't know. Maybe. This Twitch API, it's a concrete class. And Joe Bunn's already saying, do the mixer service first. There's not as many news. Good point. There aren't as many new statements in here that we need to deal with over on Mixer side. So there's some methods here to go and get information. And where is that connection out? So there, new HTTP client, right? We're reaching out to some endpoint. It's hard to unit test against third-party stuff you can't control. Well, here, this is where a repository pattern should help, right? I would just make some functional tests. Any chance you will help me with a simple problem on JavaScript? I'm not, Blue Beanie, that's not something, I'm not working on JavaScript today. I would suggest if it's something that that the chat room could help with, you're welcome to paste it in there. I would suggest going to Stack Overflow, sharing it with some of those folks. But I'm not focused on JavaScript right now because we're working on unit tests today. Ever thought about using refit for the APIs? I'm not familiar with refit. What's refit? Help me out here. What is refit? An EFI boot? No, that's probably not it. No. That's a fitness thing. Blue Beanie, thank you for the follow. Paul Betts refit. I think I know what you're talking about. Automatic type-safe REST library for Xamarin and .NET. I've seen this. It's a library heavily inspired by retrofit. Turns your REST API into a live interface. Yeah. Generates an implementation that uses HTTP client to make its calls. Okay. Excuse me. So it's a good way to wrap it. Paul does make some interesting stuff. Stack Overflow IRC channel would be more appropriate. Yep. So, Paul used to stream on Twitch. Haven't seen him in a while. Paul likes to jump on whenever the spirit moves him. He does some pretty neat stuff there. I think he does some advanced stuff. And I want to make sure that I target and kind of hit some of these topics to get folks into and interested in .NET. And start to learn some more advanced things. So this is a nice approach to wrap your API that you're going to be using in this interface, and then be able to generate clients for this. I feel like you can do almost the same thing with Swagger, though. Right, because Swagger we can generate using the Swashbuckle library. You can generate some stuff. Gotta go. We'll watch the VOD later. All right, good seeing you. Thanks for joining. And these aren't APIs that I control, so I can't wrap these with refit. I could certainly wrap my own APIs with refit and generate some APIs with some client-side APIs with those, but I don't think that's what I want to do yet. So I'm going to come back to Mixer. Let's start with the Twitch service. So how do I start to separate these things into something else? Right, so if I owned the Twitch API or the follower service object, I could pass in and make those something that I test, right? What do you need from every service? So right now I need the current follower count, the current viewer count. We may get more stuff later. And that's what I do with these I services, right? Is I'm returning those objects. But I feel like if I put another abstraction inside of this that's going to touch these Twitch specific APIs, I'm going to end up formatting and doing the exact same things that I'm doing here. That feels weird. But can I inject the Twitch API? Well, the Twitch API needs a client ID. The follower service is created based on an API. But once I get the follower service, I'm starting it and then I'm listening for new followers detected. And the follower service is really what I want to mock. And the dog's barking like crazy. Wonderful. There she goes. You can hear her. I have a feeling it's like the mailman's coming, you know what I mean? Or even better, right? The delivery person. Maybe it's the UPS guy delivering toys. Everybody loves it when UPS and FedEx comes now, because then we can get toys. Why does it need the follower service? Some sort of common interface for the two services. So I do have a common interface right now for these two services. That's my iStream service. and the start service here, the why does it need... So the follower service, to answer playing with scissors question, the follower service here... thank you. I get it. That's enough out of you. All right. Animals. Where was I? Oh, so the follower service, if I want to inspect how this is handled, right? Because I want to inspect how this method here is handling these things. I either need to mock it, or I need to call this thing directly. Now that's not too bad, actually, if I called this directly. Let's start there. Because if I want to make sure that it's raising my service updated event args properly, right? And I also have one here for when the timer fires to do the check views. I could actually do both of these. I could actually make these, I could make them internal, and then I can call them from another library. So maybe you haven't seen this trick, but I believe, oh wait a sec, this is .NET Core. Ooh. Can I do, there's a property called internals visible to in .NET Framework. I don't know if you can do it in .NET Core. Let's take a look. Project JSON equivalent of internals visible to. Just put it in assembly info CS. Which internals visible to? When should it be used? Always. No, kidding. Let's take a look at this. I don't think the Twitch handler should require it. Maybe just get a list of followers. So I'm trying to avoid calling that list of followers directly. But I also want to have that list of followers. I want to have that follower information raised when it changes. When somebody new clicks that follow button, I need to be notified of that so that I can update all my gauges and widgets and things. Do you mind? There we go. Chat, do you know how to assign a JSON object from HTTP request to a variable that is not in scope? Unit testing. There we go. Look at that, Sinclairinator with the Stack Overflow foo. Let's do this. I love this. So in DuckDuckGo, you can direct it to search various repositories, like Stack Overflow, by typing !SO, and this is unit testing internal methods .NET standard. I think that's the one we're talking about. According to .NET docs, the attribute is applied at the assembly level. It means it can be included at the beginning of a source code file, or it can be included in the assembly info file. So just somewhere in some CS file, add assembly internals visible to. Fantastic. Great job, Sinclairinator. I thought we could do that. Declare variables global. Oh, playing with scissors. You wound me. Don't do that. Globals make me feel bad. So I'm going to come... Do we have a properties? So that dog is really upset. I'm going to add a new class up here. It's a class, and I'm just going to call this assembly info. All right, and it's not really a class. I don't care. I actually don't even need namespace. Haha. And I can say assembly internals visible to, and it's test, right? That's the name of my project. That's all I need to do. So Twitch service, where I have internal service on new follower detected. I can, oh, playing with scissors. That's not cool. My apologies, Blue Beanie. JavaScript, we care about JavaScript here. Pardon my friends here in the chat room. We do care about JavaScript. Don't move your variable global. You should be able to reach outside your scope and into those other scopes. If you pass a this object in to your scope, you should be able to pass that information around. So there are ways to access variables in different scopes. You just need to be able to pass them around from scope to scope. So no, please. I'd use a closure variable, not a global one. There you go. That's a great way to describe it, Federico Dynamite. And if you'd like me to go into more on that, if you'd like me to see me show you a demo, you can ask a question in the live stream GitHub repository, and I'll talk about that when I get back into my JavaScript later. You can just use promises, assign the variable response. There you go. There's a couple different ways to do it. All right, I'm going to come down here. Services, stream service. Let's start testing our Twitch service. I know you can't see this. So that dog is really upset. And there's somebody probably in the house taking everything I own. Feels bad. I'm going to add a new class here. And we're going to make sure, let's call this on when new follower raised. Nah, when new follow. Let's say on new followers. That's good. There we go. And I'll reformat that. That dog is really upset. See, you better not try and find me, otherwise the dog's going to go bonkers on you. And she's a big dog. I have an Akita. Dog broken, needs unit testing. There you go. She's housebroken. Ha ha ha! Oh. I definitely suggest learning closures like the back of your hand. JavaScript closures are a very important topic. Absolutely agree on that one. All right, so I'm going to check on new followers. Let's close this. Let's open that Twitch service. So here's my Twitch service class. Now, when new followers happen, it's this service on new followers detected. I want to make sure that it's returning the correct number of new followers that were passed through from Twitch, right? Should set current follower count. Let's make sure that happens properly. All right, let's see what we got here. She's really going there. Would you mind if I go check her out? Check out, see what she's upset about? 1 second here, folks. I'm curious as to what's going on. 1 second. Entertain yourselves. I'll suggest a topic. Closures in JavaScript are neither closed nor written in closure. Discuss. Okay, sorry about that. In fact, I'm receiving a heating oil delivery, and the dog hates the heating oil delivery people. All right. Where were we? That's the first time I've had to do that. The entertaining chair here. My apologies. All right. Should set the current follower count. So I want to inspect when this event is raised that the current follower count is set properly. So arrange, act, assert. I feel like I should have a snippet to just generate that. Oops, I forgot a void here, didn't I? And this should be a fact. Nice. Bring in my XUnit statements. Jeff's mixer says 10 live viewers, but the widget says 12. Nope, now it says 10. Now it says 10. It just takes a little bit to update. We need to bring in more friends. We are 59 from our big goal, having that workshop. All right, let's arrange, act, and assert. So let's set up what the new follower count is. So new follower count equals new random, and I will get a next value, and let's pick a value between 10 and 100, just so it's something. That's better. That way we're close to meeting our goal. Minnesota nice. Minnesota? Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. The entertaining chair lost 2 followers. I know! I know. Yeah, there you go, Mr. Magoo. And well played. All right, I'm going to need more coffee here at some point. Fortunately, I've got water. Not as tasty. Needs more caffeine. Okay, so I'm going to act. I need to actually create my Twitch service here and interact with it. So you know what? I'm going to need my mockery, and I should create a logger. Now I need a logger every time I create a Twitch service. So you know what? I'm actually going to create a constructor here for this test class. And I'm going to store a copy of a logger object, right? So let's just create something called logger, and we'll say mockery create, and I think it's a logger. Is it a logger factory? It takes, yeah, right. Logger factory. Castle core logging. Where did that come from? No, I want this one. Okay, so now that'll create the logger factory, but well, that's what I want to pass in. So let's call this logger factory, and then I'm gonna have to set that up so that it has, so it has all the different capabilities of it. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's do this. Yeah, it's a read-only property. I'm not gonna be changing it. And I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to do a control dot on it. Yep, let's extract a method, and we will call this create logger, because there's a little bit more setup to this thing. And I don't want it public. I could just make this a field, really. There we go. All right. So besides setting that up, I also need to return an actual logger object of something. After 2 years of exclusively programming backend, my HTML skills went to... Oh, that's too bad, playing with scissors. My HTML skills have fallen off a little bit also, but I'm working on it. It's something that I'm trying to get better at. So after creating that, I need to return... When the create logger statement is executed here... I need to actually return and create something for that. So what I'm going to need to do is say logger factory. Is it when? Yeah, there we go. So the condition, right? So I want to say, right, come on. Right, not when. Is it on? No, setup. That's it. Yeah, here we go. And I want a result. Okay, so when the factory is when it calls create logger, right? And I think, isn't there a way to say ignore? Why isn't that like? Yeah, create logger. Yes. Okay. I thought there was a way to say ignore arguments, and I don't see it here. My CSS skills still need a lot of work. It was good to see Jeff doing battle with it with the progress bar. Yeah. Well, right, there's... Right. Where'd it go? There's this. Right, this is what it's like to work with CSS. And this is what I ended up doing with it. Yeah, there it went. All right. Where is it? My colleague Scott has the word CSS superimposed on that. And that just makes me feel better when I see that. Create logger. Ah, there it is. It is any. That's what I'm thinking of. Thank you. Is any. And you're saying string, because I don't really care. Something like that. There we go. Now I need to specify what to return. Now what am I going to return? I'm going to return a logger object. So I need to actually have a logger for it to return. So let's create that logger object as well. So I'm going to say mockery. I'm going to create a mockery of this. Logger. And we will save this thing off. No. Inaccessible due to its protection level. Why won't it? Fine. I will call this mock logger. No? Typing. I do it for a living. You never know. There we go. Private. Which means I can also get rid of that. Good. So this will return mock logger object. All right. There we go. So now I have a logger factory that'll return a logger object. Cool. It has been mostly backend the last 3 years, and while I can keep up with general JavaScript and HTML, my CSS and JavaScript ecosystem, by that I mean things like Grunt, Gulp, Webpack, are getting away from me. Okay, there's been so much movement in there that... True story. The team that I work on, the ASP.NET team, we started integrating with Grunt when we started writing the first version of ASP.NET Core. And as we're going through it, there was a huge uproar. How dare you use Grunt because everybody's using Gulp? Really? So we went and said, well, how many folks are using Gulp versus Grunt? And we pulled some numbers off of Google PageRank and some of those things, Google Trends, to see how these things were being searched for and used. And, okay, at one point Gulp took it over and we switched out our tools and we added Gulp capabilities. How dare you use Gulp? Everybody's using NPM methods to script these things. Really? Okay. So we wired up so you could script npm script methods so you could call things from ASP.NET Core as you're building and developing your project. How dare you use that? Everybody's using Webpack now. Come on. This is why we can't have nice things. So there you go. Yellow Brick Code, there's a great article for something like JavaScript for dinosaurs. It talks about a lot of that stuff. Yeah. It moves so quickly. And quickly to the point of it's annoying to keep up with for some folks. If you're in an enterprise job and you're trying to get something done, and then next time you turn around and look, people insult you because you chose to use the technology that was in vogue way back in 2017. Webpack, that's so 2017. You should be using Foo. Foo, everybody's using Foo now. Just like we ran into the issue of Knockout. Who's using Knockout? Everybody's using Backbone. Oh, go use that. Oh, why use that? You should be using Angular. Angular, why are you using that? You should be using React. React, you should be using Angular 2. Actually, now that you've deployed Angular 2, Angular 4 is now available. You should be using Angular 4. Did I say 4? I meant 5. What is this Angular you speak of? You should be using Vue. Really? December 2017 is so yesterday. Oh my gosh. I don't even think I have anything from my Snapchat from December 2017 anymore. Oh yeah, because it disappears in 24 hours. All right, let's get back to this. Now that we've sufficiently mocked all of that, I also need to pass in a configuration object. So let's make a configuration object that we can pass in here. So let's say this dot configuration equals mockery create configuration. Fantastic. Let's make sure that that's no, not castle. No, bad. I don't want to use castle. Go away. I don't want that configuration. I want Microsoft configuration. Create this property. Fantastic. All right. I've bookmarked it for later. Cool. That's great. I'm happy to see you guys sharing links back and forth there. And I'll try and grab some of those links and put them into the blog post if I can. Should set the current follower count. All right. So now I'm going to pass in my configuration object and my logger. You know what? That configuration is a mock object, and so is the logger factor. I feel like I should, for completeness, label it as such. So I'm just going to use F2 refactoring here. I'm just pressing F2 on these, and it's renaming it throughout all of the referenced places here. So now I have those things. So I should be able to create my Twitch service. Right, new, hang on. Fritz, Stream Tools, Services, Twitch service, there it is. And I'm going to pass in my configuration, mock configuration, object, and my mock logger factory. Now, oops, yep, that should work now. And you know what? I'm going to take this, and I'm going to make a using statement for that too. Right? This way. That's a little bit easier to read. XUnit. That's right, Rapier. We're using XUnit to do some unit testing of our .NET Core project. So there we go. Those all executed properly, but I actually need to see what happens when I call, right? Because the method that I want to inspect is this one here. So what happens when I call this and pass in some information? Hi, I'm French. Bonjour. Did I say that right? I know I'm American. Forgive me. My French is terrible. and I only know words that have been stolen by us Americans, like croissant and fondue. I'm apologizing now because I am terrible with French. My daughter is learning French in school, and she's doing terrific with it. My other daughter is learning Spanish, but I speak 2 languages, American and bad American, and that's not good. Voila! Also, there you go. I am apologizing now. I hope I'm not speaking too fast for those that aren't English first speakers. But of course, we can always pause and rewind. That's the beauty of video here on the internet. But welcome. I'm guessing it's not pronounced longistoires. I'm trying to think what would be the French way to pronounce that. But thanks for joining us here today. Bonjour. There we go. And I like to say, even though my last name is Fritz, I don't know German. I know just enough German that I could create an international problem because I would use it wrong. I can find my way around it, but my colleague Imo, who is from Germany, I can get confused real quick when he starts speaking. So let's start testing this service. This method here. Let's actually use it. So if I say SUT, and right, remember I added that internals visible to statement over here inside my properties of the assembly that I'm working on, and it's visible to this test. This test assembly. That feels weird because I could inadvertently open that up and make it accessible to folks that shouldn't have access to it. There's ways to lock that down by passing in the full ID of the assembly. So, I learned one sentence in French in an online game, but I forgot how to pronounce it. My apologies. I'm not even gonna try because I'm afraid it'll be insulting to you. But welcome. All right, so I'm not gonna pass in an object, and I can pass in new follower detected args. Right, this is the strongly typed arguments about what it is that is going on. And let's actually pull that out. No, I don't want to add the argument name. I want to make this a local variable. Let's pull that out right here. Let's just call this args. There it is. So now I can call this method and pass in args directly. Now, this has information about new followers, all kinds of information about what's going on here. I'm going to specify the new followers is that new follower count from up there. Right. New followers. Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's actually a list of iFollow objects. So what I could do is I could actually, right, I could mock up that list of new follow objects. Let's do that. New follower list equals new list, and it's iFollow. Ooh. There we go. And then I can specify the capacity. There it is. New follower count. And let's make sure I have... Yep. So now I can say new followers equals new follower list. Yes! Now it should come through and execute all these things with my live unit testing. Cool. Let's make sure. Let's say assert equal... No. Equal. Yeah. And the expected number is going to be my new follower count. And the actual value is going to be SUT current follower count. It should set that value for me in that method if I set up my test here properly. And I didn't. Which one's failing here? This one. And it's saying the count is actually 0 in there. So while I initialized the capacity, I didn't actually put anything in there. Let's see. I think there's another one. Oh, an IEnumerable follow collection. So let's do that. Let's say new iFollow, and we'll make it new follower count. Right? If I'm doing that with an array, it should initialize, and there we go. Give me a bunch of nulls in there, but that capacity, those objects, should be there. Terrific. So that tests and looks like it's running properly. It's returning my current follower count. And when I look at my service over here, it is properly doing these things and even triggering my event properly. Fantastic. We can actually look at this log information call, because that's being mocked and being executed from my logger. So what I can do, right, is I should be able to say mock logger There's a way to get that value that's coming back. Oh. Mock logger, not as, right? But I want to set up, there we go. So when the logger calls, and what it was, log information, is that the one I'm calling? Yeah. There's a way to do a callback here. Yeah. It now is any string. There we go. I can actually say, yeah, callback, and then I can specify what I want it to do. There we go. So, callback method to invoke. So how do I get the value, the first value that was passed in? Right, it was a string. Right? So I should be able to go... No. Right, this is a... Yeah, that's the string that was passed in. Alright. So this is the message. So I should be able to do something like console out right line message and be able to track exactly, be able to see exactly what was logged. So we'll let that run. Invalid setup on an extension. Didn't like log information. It is any string. Okay, why didn't it like that? If I do that. All right. Nope, still didn't like it. Right, log information. I'm only passing that in. No. Params object. Let's set that up with null. Does that work? Nope. What am I doing wrong? Right, because there is nothing being passed through. What if I, right, just to make sure, if I change that to something like that, that doesn't work either. Invalid setup on extension. What's the stack trace there? What do we got? Involves unsupported member. Ugh. All right. Log information. So the other thing I could do is actually create a concrete class here that implements iLogger, and when the log information is called, do something about it. But I'm trying to work around that by just doing this stub here. Actually, can I do that? Can I just say stub? No, there is no stub. In PHP, you have a way to tell the mock that a certain method should be called at least once. Right. And that's what I can do. Right, if I were to say, change this to... trying to... These other... See, these are extension methods with a little arrow. Right, this method I can check. Yeah. Right, if I were to say that. Right, that'll pass through. What's going on here is that the logger log information is an extension method. And I don't want to... I'm not so much interested in that it was called, but I want to grab the information out of it. So if I do, right, if I do a string, and I do something like that, yeah. Right, so I've got this params of an object array, right? If I said new object, oops, need one more paren. There we go. See, it's not working there because it doesn't like... I don't think it likes that log information is an extension method, which feels terrible. Why do you care about what it's logging? I just want to inspect and output that information. It's more like a coverage test. Yeah. Yeah. Could it be that it's returning a void? It is returning a void, but I can set up action methods. Right? I want to inspect using the callback, and I want to be able to return or interact with that data. And it looks like the setup method doesn't want to work with this extension method. Right? MOQ setup extension method. You can't directly mock static methods with mocking framework. You can try moles. Yeah. Would something like this work? Mock setup foo submit raises sent plus equals. Yes. Try calling the extension method directly and passing. That's not a bad idea. Right, it finds that class and does. Oh. Death to static methods while unit testing. Yeah. Right, but as a developer, I don't care that it's a static method. I want to inspect what comes back from it. That structure, the fact that it came from this class or from that class, I could care. Not my problem. All right. You know what? I'm just going to ignore this. I'm going to bag out on that. Not my problem. And my test runs properly. Good. Go back to the service here. So now I'm updated and I'm down through here and I'm actually making sure that the current follower count, there it is properly being set. So it's actually the new followers count is being set on there. I should make sure that the Twitch service actually has, where's the current follower count? And it's a private set. Do I really want to do reflection and set that value? Could do that. Right, let's format a little bit nicely. I can do that. Now I should be able to say, when I create my service, current follower count equals 10. So now I can say, oops. Hello, I don't understand anything. Hello, Guncha. Welcome. What don't you understand? Help me out. Where can I start you off in? My current follower count should be the new follower count plus 10. There we go. Fantastic. All right. So I'm pretty happy with how that works. I'm still not really inspecting and hooked up to the event. The event that this raises here. And verifying that. But it did set that. Is it good to start learning Python? Python's a good language. A lot of folks that are in data science are doing some work with that. You can check that out. Absolutely. Look at that. Sinclairinator found our extension method. Microsoft extensions, logging, logger extensions, log information. Ooh, let's take a look at that. I'm going to see if I can just reference logger extensions directly. Look at that. So if I access that. All right, so once my iLogger. All right. But I want to set this method up. Dynamic web page says yes to Python. Yes, Paige Bailey, terrific. More than 389 followers at once. Must have been a great stream. Oh, thank you for the follow, Guncha. Right, but I need a mock object to wire this up to. Right? This is a static method here. Right? I don't want to call this. I want to... Oh, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. That's not bad. So the suggestion here from Sinclairinator is mock logger setup, and then we will take in whatever that mock logger is, and we will say logger extensions, log information, and then that logger object, my message, and that message is what I'm going to be inspecting here. All right. Is any string, and then I should be able to now do callback, and now I have a type that's being passed into me, and actually let's do this, and let's go message. Let's see if we can get this to work. Console out right line message. Let's see if that works. Message, what's being passed in is it doesn't know what that is. Let's do that. Better. Please work, please work. Yeah, I know, right? Nope, doesn't like it. Invalid setup on an extension method. Yeah, look at that. It's on it. It doesn't like the extension methods, which feels weird. I'm just going to comment this out for right now, because I'd really like to have that output and in my log for when this test runs. So I need to figure that out. I need to get in there. Just because I like having very descriptive messages around my tests, because when the test breaks, I want to know what's going on in there. I thought you gave up on the logger. I know, I should have. C# console app, yes, it's not a bad start if you don't want to care about disposing, pointers, and other things. Otherwise, C, it's simpler than C++, is the best start, I think. My problem with C is that it gets very low level, and if you're not doing computer science, it's too much. You're learning too much. There's a lot of concepts in there. You're spending a lot of time managing memory, where a more rapid application development language, those higher level languages, C#, JavaScript, Python, Java, right? You can get into and you can be productive and deliver a running application quickly without having to know the specifics about how some of those other things work. And you get the help of features like a garbage collector that you just don't have to worry about. So there's that. All right. So this test works at setting my current follower count. I also want to make sure that the event is raised properly. Right, so on new followers, right? I think this will be the last test we write today. Event raised properly. No. Should raise event properly. That's better English. See, like I said, I speak American. I speak English badly. All right. I learned C and C++ first, but they're kind of limited in usefulness for now. Sure, if you were going into game design and development, you might be very active in using those. If you go into hardware development, you might be very active in those. For business development, for building business applications, it's a great foundation, but at some point you're going to need to learn those higher level languages. So, to each his own. JavaScript is the best language to start with. You don't need anything. Press F12 in your browser of choice. Absolutely. Very simple to get in. 21st century demands. We work at a higher level. Got to get up and running. Yeah. I think the choice of where you start is dependent on what you want to achieve too. That's a great way to put it, Yellow Brick Code. Where you want to go. If you do want to go into programming games, if you want to go into programming hardware, C and C++, you're going to have to start there. You want to build web applications? You want to build an application like HQ, right? That game that you can play on your phone. My family talked me into that. You don't need to be down so much in C and C++. You could be in Java or JavaScript or .NET and be very, very productive, because that application could run. It's delivering video. It's delivering a little form that you answer questions in. It's a game show that you play online. You could do that in .NET or Java or Kotlin running there on Android. It's up to you. So, all right, so let's make sure we raise that event properly. Excuse me. So let's set up that new follower list, and we'll set up those counts. There we go. And I want to actually hook up to the updated event here, right? So where's updated? And I don't see the event. Where's the event? Oh, duh, it was right there. There it is. All right, so it's a public event handler, so I want to hook up to it. A dark room was written in Ruby and hit #1 on the iPhone store for a long time. There you go. I didn't know you could compile Ruby into an iPhone app. There you go. So I want to listen to this updated event, and I also need to somehow trigger it, right, from inside this method, this class. Now, updated is raised, right, is raised when this method is fired. So I want to inspect what comes back from this. So I'm okay with saying I'm actually, so here's where I'm gonna twist things a little bit here. Let's do this. So let's go var sut equals new, and I'm gonna do the same thing that I had up here. One of these, paste that in. Before I call on new followers detected, I'm gonna say sut dot no. There it is. Plus equals, and I need to create a new handler for this, but I don't want to create it as another method somewhere else. Oh my god, unit tests, awesome. Later I'll review the train. Well, good to see you, Bruno. Yes, I'm writing some unit tests around this. Alright. So instead of that, right, this receives 2 arguments. I can actually test this by setting up a function here, right? A func. And I can do it anonymously right here. So it's going to have a sender and some args. Right? And here's where I'm actually going to be doing this. Let's call this yeah, let's call this args. Let's make this my args. So I've got a little bit of separation between these two. There we go. Now that should run properly the way it is right now. Good. But here's where I'm actually going to do the inspection, is when the event is raised. So I've actually twisted, and my assert is actually up here. That's okay, because I'm testing the outcome of the event, that it raised with the appropriate information. So I'm going to do assert is null. No, assert null. Sender. And the arguments should be passing back the new follower count, which should be this. So let's just, I'm just going to grab that. Do the same thing here, and not SUT, current follower, but args, new followers. We should also make sure that, oh, look at that, raises. Ooh. Verify that an event raises the event args as raised. You know what, let's... What is that wired up to? What is that wired up to? Yes! Yes! Oh my gosh. Get rid of this. So if I do assert dot raise, I've never tried this. Let's see what happens. Represent a raised event after the fact. Not yet. Assert raises with each event arg is raised. Ooh. But the event handler that I'm attaching to, is it SUT updated? No, doesn't like that. How do I use assert raises? Anybody used this before? Let's go over here. XUnit raises. Let's see if there's some doc. No. No. Let's do that one. Testing exceptions with XUnit. I don't think that's it. Notify property changed. Ugh. Ugh. Nope. How do I use XUnit raises? Raises event. Unit testing an event that is raised in C#. Now, that's what I was just looking at. Unit testing raised events. Does he touch on this? Let's see. This is NUnit. .NET 1.1. Woo! No. Mock.raise should raise event in tested. That's pretty cool. XUnit event asserts test early unit testing event handlers. That's from 2007. Don't think so. Assert.raise is missed an S. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh, assertion method. Let's... Expected exception assertions. No. Which mentions you scrolled past the XUnit release notes. Did I? But it only seems to port the event handler. Where did I scroll past it? Event? Nope. Back in my search results. Release notes. Added event assertions. Ah. Where'd that go? Event raises async, event raises any async. Great, how do I use it? Where's docs? Docs. Not that it should matter. I want to do that assert. Oh wow, we've gone really long. Links to resources. I don't want links to resources. I want to know how to use assert raises. Right, if I go there, it just bops down here. Back in my start. Yeah, so here I am. I could pester Oren directly. Let's doink around with this. Assert.raises. Right. So the event handler to attach, is that the code to attach the event handler verifies that an event with the exact event args was raised. It just feels weird. It does. It feels... Right? I mean, the event args are... right, if I do that... it's on the release notes page. Is it? So I'm here on the release notes. Release notes. Easy for me to say. But it doesn't say how. Right? Show me an example of what that... Oh, I see. These right here. For example, see the unit tests. There's one right there. Assert raises the event arguments x completed plus equals. All right. So x is the class, and he's attaching to this completed object. Plus equals h. Okay, so that's the handler. All right. I see where this is going. I'm feeling you now. So this right here, I'm going to end up putting inside of this. So if h is the handler, then I'm going to say sut.updated plus equals h, sut.updated minus equals h, and then I need to actually invoke it. And get rid of that. Now, why doesn't it like that one? Right, minus equals h. What do you mean it doesn't exist? Oh, you know what? This needs to go on each of these. There we go. Haha. Darn it, why is it so hard to create a resume from scratch? Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it hard? Cannot convert from void to system action. What? Oh. Like that. So that'll actually execute. Up late, even not update. Up late, even up. That worked. But, okay, so it raised... Okay, it raised the event. Now what? Right, I actually want to test it. I actually want to get in there and say, is this what I thought it was? Assert, not null, EVT. What's EVT? Oh, it's the event that it came back with. Up late writing Xamarin apps. Thought I'd come join for a while. Hey, cool. Welcome. So, all right, if that is this, then this thing that comes back is the raised event. Aha! All right. So I should be able to say arguments and be able to inspect those things. There we go. Okay. This feels cool. All right. So I should be able to say that the sender is null, EVT sender. And then I should be able to check the different argument things. So equal, I expect 10 plus my args new followers. And what I'm actually checking is EVT arguments, which should be, yes, it's of my argument type, and the new followers. Not my args followers. It's, new follower list. Haha. New follower count. There we go. That should work, right? Nope, didn't like it. It's saying that sender actually was something. I put something in there? Oh, I invoke it with this. All right, fine. Get rid of that. But what should be null is the new viewer count, right? So EVT arguments, new viewers, because I'm not passing that information back because followers changed. So I don't want to pass viewer count back because that wasn't updated, and that's correct. There we go. Fantastic. Looks like I should set 10 in a variable. All right, you're right. We can do that. So, oh, goodbye. Introduce a constant, and let's call this initial followers. There we go. All right. So now I have an initial followers that we can use here. This one too. Fantastic. Am I testing for coverage? Not yet. At this point, I'm testing to make sure that some of these business things that are being managed by my Twitch service, particularly when it detects new followers, that we raise that information properly, that we properly circulate that. The testing of event raising is gold. Yes. Eldorian, Never have failing unit tests if you don't write them in the first place. Yeah, there's that. Check views is someplace that I need to get into here, but I have been going for 3 hours today, and that's a little bit longer than I normally like to. So I think for right now, I think I've got 5 unit tests in here. We learned how to write some new unit tests using different format. How deep of coverage? Well, I think you're looking for a percentage of coverage, and not that deep. You know, there's things here that I don't really care about right now. There was build errors. Would you like to continue and run tests? No. What do you mean you had build errors? How dare you have build errors? One failed. Which one failed? It's being used by another process. Well, it should just... And... There we go. Wow. Had a guy started our office who told us that he had written some unit tests. I go to check and kaboom, assert true equals true. Nice. Nice. Assert true equals true. Feels bad. I have done assert true in the past. Yeah, why would you do that? There's function coverage, statement coverage, and MCDC coverage. Wow, you're going a little bit deeper than I've cared to go in the past. The code ran without exceptions, made it to the end. I'm trying to test just some of these basic functions, right? Just making sure that those things are running properly. I'm not going in looking for specific things, specific statements being run. I want to make sure that when I do raise information about my new followers from Twitch, that it is raising and delivering the exact same content that I expect it to. So I think there's an opportunity here to add similar functionality around checking the new viewers, how we manage those, and checking those same features on Mixer, because that's the feature that we're checking and maintaining right now. MCDC coverage is quite difficult for complex programs. Okay. Stood in a stand-up and told people he had written 50 unit tests, and I wanted to cry. Yeah. When people say, "Oh yeah, I spent my time writing unit tests," it feels like an escape, like people are trying to get away with something. Cool. All right. I am going to check in this code today. For some reason, my Alt-Tab doesn't run first thing when I hit it. Let's do a git status here. So I'm going to add in this Stream Tools properties. We need to make sure that is added. That's where my internals visible to is living. No, there we go. I need to make sure I add base fixture. That was a new feature we added. We need to add the services folder. We need to add the startup folder. And I thought I added base fixture. Oh, I didn't add it. Oops. My bad. Cool. There we go. So you can see PoscheGet has listed here the first number. These are the files that have been added but are not being tracked. The tilde, these are the number of files that have been changed. And the minus, these are the files that have been removed. And over here in green, these are the files that have been staged. So that's what this add-in PoscheGet is telling me here. Testing for fun. Frustrating and then fun again. Repeat. Yeah, it can be. Eldorian, I got the new junior dev on our team in the habit of writing unit tests. Fantastic. When I have some senior devs on the team who still refuse. Felt good to get her off on the right foot at least. Terrific. Can't read that dark red on black. Yeah, I know. That's the color that this uses by default. Next time, write assert equals true equals true. Yeah. I know contractors that write unit tests like that because they're paid by how much code they deliver. It's like, really? Give me a break. First group of unit tests. And then I will push. I always forget to do this, don't I? upstream origin feature unit tests. There we go. And now that's up on GitHub. Someday I want to make a better command line. There's a group that's done a command line with .NET that you can download. And I forget whether it's called Console 2 or something. Mock logger setup. Oh my goodness. Formatted log values. Wow. That's a pretty good mock statement there, Sinclairinator. You can do git push -u. Yeah. None I've used have worked just the way I want. When I joined my current employer, we had around 5 unit tests. Senior devs still state that writing unit tests just means people can see how much we've done. Now have a few juniors starting and hoping to follow Ed Dorian's plan. Yeah, but what I think, I look at unit tests as an insurance policy. You're pinning down features and functionality that you know work the way that you want it to. Furthermore, when folks find a bug, when I have a ticket that's open that says, hey, this doesn't work properly, that's a unit test. I want to verify, I want to find the piece of code where that's not working. I want to write a unit test around it that says, here's what's not working and what I expect it to do. And then I can fix that by making the test pass. Now, every time I build and deploy, I've got a unit test that says, you know what? That bug that was open before, it's still fixed. That's a very good thing. This is what the extension method does. Ugh. Regression for days. Oh, and that's what the extension method is doing. That's a little bit of a mess. I think unit tests are overrated in their current state. Functional tests are so much better. Interesting. I'd like to hear more about that. Tell you what would be a good functional test that we could have in this project? Write up a little pull request. Give me a functional test for something that could be added to this project, and we'll talk about it next time playing with scissors. I'd like to see a little bit more about what you mean by that and what we can do. And let's talk about it. So, but that's all I have for today. I'm about an hour over. I've got some other stuff that I need to do here on my Saturday. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time. Everything is here on, where'd it go? Not there. All my code for today's project is here under fritz.stream tools, under C#Fritz on GitHub. I will archive this video. It'll be out on YouTube in a little bit. And you'll be able to I should have a blog post about some of the things we discussed here today. Probably tomorrow at this point. I've got people on my team that think it's a waste of time when they could be doing real coding. I've seen that discussion before. The Goose of Wild, thank you for the follow. And remember, encourage your friends, your colleagues to come out and join us here on the live stream. When we get to 500 followers up there, I will host a live ASP.NET Core workshop here on stream. Thanks for the follow, Playing with Scissors. And we'll see you next time. That'll be Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I think that's, what is it? 2 o'clock or 2 o'clock? 1 o'clock. No, add 5. 3 p.m. UTC. Thanks so much. We'll see you then.